This is a video tutorial for the Happy Days Cricut fabric tool roll. And this is how you make it. We'll need fabric for the outer, fabric for the pocket, fabric for the lining, a small piece of interfacing big enough to fit on half the pocket, and a piece of elastic about 17-20 centimetres long. We'll start by making the pocket. Take your pocket fabric, which is the smallest piece of fabric you've cut, and fold it in half. Make a nice sharp crease so you're looking at the pretty side. Then open it up and take your interfacing and then place it inside up against the crease, fold it over and press. I've ironed in my interfacing and now I'm going to sew a nice top stitch all along the folded edge. You could use your fancy stitch at this stage. Now take your lining fabric and place it right sides up so you're looking at the pretty side, and place the pocket that you've just top stitched on as I'm doing. Ensure that your sides and the bottom all line up, and then take it over to your sewing machine and tack a holding stitch quite close to the edge. This is just to stop it moving around. You won't see these stitches in your final make. Next, draw a line down the pocket 5 centimetres apart as I've done. Use a heat erasable pen. Next, take it over to your sewing machine and using these lines as a guide, starting at the top and back stitching, sew carefully along each line. I've sewn along each of my lines to form little pockets. Now take your piece of elastic and fold in half, and using the top of your pocket as a guide, place your elastic as I'm doing so it's facing in as I'm doing, and add a clip. I've tapped my elastic into place. It is correct that it's facing into the bag. Next, take your outer fabric and place it right sides together on top. Line up all the sides and edges and then add some clips. I've added some clips and I've added my gap sign to remind me not to sew over it. And I'm going to take it over the sewing machine and use 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to start at the edge of my gap and sew to the corner and stop, all the way down and stop, across the bottom and stop, back up the other side and stop, and then back along to where my other gap sign is and stop. Back stitch a few times there. I've sewn all the way around and I've also snipped each of the 4 corners for a nicer finish when we turn it. And now I'm going to use the gap I made at the top to turn it the right way out. I've turned it the right way out and I've pushed out all of the corners, and I've also folded in the raw edges of the gap. And now I'm going to take it over the sewing machine, and if you used your fancy stitch here, you might want to use it here as well to match up. I'm going to top stitch just all the way across the top, which will automatically close up the gap I left. I've top stitched along the top, which has closed the gap I left. I've added some of my tools, fold over the top, and that's your Cricut tool roll all ready for rolling. And that's your Happy Days Cricut fabric tool roll all finished.